out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. But it's 1, 2, 3 cycle out and be all holding. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever...
Hi, folks. Talkin' Baseball is back for Season 8, Episode 7 on a sweltering afternoon. A great day for baseball.
Yes, it is.
Not a great day for announcing.
No, not a great day to be in the under the hot lights.
But here we are back at Passio School with Debbie and Joe, and Dan and Patrick is our team out there. And
our guys in the truck.
the guys in the truck, giving us some information. And it was intended to be our All-Star Game show because the All-Star Game was played this week, and we had everything planned out. And then last Friday, one of Debbie's friends gave her 4 tickets to the ball game. And we took our friends, the Percos, and went to see the Red Sox play the Blue Jays. The score was 28-5.
Not for the good guys.
28-5.
There we go.
Now, if you're not a big baseball fan, that just looks like a football score.
Right.
And the 4 touchdowns versus a field goal and a safety.
Right, that was the Patriots' comeback score.
In baseball, you do not get 28 runs. The all-time record for runs scored in a game was set in 2007 by Texas against Baltimore. They beat them with 30 runs. When I was 8 years old, the first season I followed baseball, the Red Sox had 29 runs.
Right, against the Browns, I think.
It was against the Browns.
Right, yeah.
And that record held up for 57 years.
Right.
And so in this game that we went to, the scoring just was outrageously mounting.
It was ridiculous.
And at the end of 6 innings, the Blue Jays had 27 runs. Now, I knew what the record was.
Right, I did too.
And so I said, what the hell? The Red Sox have played 17,000 games in 120 years. This is the most ever scored against them. And if 3 more runs are scored, it'd be the most runs scored in like 150,000 baseball games ever.
Let's go for it.
It's history.
Let's go
It's
for
history.
it.
History doesn't always have to be positive.
No, of course not.
And all the Toronto fans around us were being very positive.
Okay, right.
And so what happened was they did bring in 2 decent relief pitches in the 7th and 8th and got them out, so it was still 27. And then they brought in a guy named Sanchez.
Yolmer Sanchez.
That they had just brought up from Worcester
Yes.
as a second baseman, and he played second base, and all of a sudden they look on the mound, and here's this guy, maybe 160 soaking wet, probably lost 5 pounds during the day anyway, because it was about 100 down there, and he's throwing the balls like I remember throwing them in softball.
Oh, it was like a little league pitch.
He's just flipping them in.
It's about 40
And the
miles an
first
hour.
2 guys that came up whacked singles off him. I said, oh, man, we're going to see it. The 3rd guy came up, and he threw an ephus pitch, which is like a blooper ball. And the guy swung so hard, he twisted himself completely around. His feet went completely around at a 180.
Right, yeah.
And he started laughing.
Yeah, there was a big cleat mark in the batter's box after he was
And then he forced the guy at first. 4th guy up got a hit, so it was up to 28.
28. We said, come on.
And then the next 2 guys flied out. So we did not see history, but there was so many things that
It
went
was
on
Red
in there.
Sox history, but it wasn't Major League history.
Here's some of the records that were set. The number 1 hitter had 6 RBIs. The number 9 hitter had 6 RBIs. That's never happened.
Never happened. Right.
Usually, 1st and 9th guys don't knock in runs.
Right, they score or they make outs.
The 1st and the 9th guys knocked in 12 runs.
Didn't the number 9 guy have 2 homers also?
Yes.
I think, yeah, of his
Well,
6 homers.
of
6
of the 4 that number 1 got, with 2 outs in I think it was the 3rd or 4th inning, and the bases loaded.
Oh, yes.
He had an easy fly ball just about to the warning track in center field, and the team was running in off the field.
Yeah, right. They're all ready to go. Yeah.
And the center field had no clue where it was.
Duran came in and he was going like this, just panicking because he had no idea where the ball was.
Bogarts is running out, going back, and he's looking at Bogarts saying, "What are you talking about?"
He's going like this. He has no
And
idea.
it went way over his head. And the problem was that the left fielder had been running in, so he had to go back and go
had to
chase
sprint
it.
back out and go
What's the leadoff guy's name? Tibia, something like that.
Tapia.
Tapia.
Tapia, yeah.
Tibia's good.
Tibia, good enough.
And he was just jogging down to first.
Right.
Aw, shucks. He saw the ball drop,
And he started
tearing around, sliding into home with an inside the park grand slam.
Now, when was the last time you saw an inside the park grand? That in and of itself is a pretty
I've
rare
never seen one.
occurrence.
They said it happened 5 years ago.
Did it really?
They said that's what they
Really?
said, but
No,
it's nothing.
I've seen an inside the park home run, but never a grand slam before.
So they had 28 runs and 29 hits, and the Red Sox had no walks and 16 strikeouts.
Yeah, it was about as lopsided as a game as you could ever have.
And it got after a while. Like I said, we were rooting for the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays always have a tremendous number of fans following them.
Sure, yeah.
So the park, by then, all the Red Sox fans are long since.
all the Blue Jays fans
They're
are
at the
there.
cask and flag,
yeah.
drowning their sorrows.
Right.
But the Blue Jays fans are going ape.
Oh, of course. So right, you never know what you're going to get at the park. And if you weren't watching the game, it's a little hard to describe how fast and furious the runs were coming in for Toronto. It was unbelievable. Like, I was watching the game with my wife. She went out to the kitchen to grab like a snack and a drink, and she came in, and they had scored 4 runs in about the 20 seconds she got to the kitchen.
I think
it was unbelievable.
I think the fourth pitcher in was a guy named
Caleb Ort, yeah.
Ort.
Yeah.
And I was making seal noises.
You're
Ort,
right.
Ort.
And I
And
think-
he gave up 9 consecutive hits.
Right. He had after 2 outs.
Yes.
He had the first 2 guys
That
out,
was
they
the
gave up
inning.
9
That was
straight
the inning they
hits.
scored 11 runs.
Right.
And it just got to be comical after
did.
a while.
It really
but
did.
it was history.
It was, yeah, the team ERA went up by 0.4 of a point just in that one game. That goes to show how bad that was.
Just
But you never know what you're going to get at the ballpark. It doesn't have to be something. And you're right. After a while, a blowout like that, all you can do is laugh. I mean, you can't get mad at it. You can't get mad at the pitchers. You just have to start laughing.
like I said,
after a
we were
while.
rooting for more.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like, come on, get the record. Let's
And
go.
that was the first game after the All-Star break, and the 2 games before the All-Star break, they lost 13-1 and 14-2. or
Right,
something
it was
like that.
something ridiculous.
It's the biggest deficit in 3 games they've ever had.
It was like 55-8 across those 3 games, or something ridiculous. It was unbelievable. So,
We're not doing well.
well, when you have 4 of your starters on the injured list, who else are you going to
Come on.
start? But
So I guess-
we'll move on past that.
It was just, it was memorable beyond belief.
Right. Yeah, and it was memorable at home too. And of course, we had part of it on the radio when Sean McDonough's on the radio, which is always entertaining in the first place. And it got so bad when when you're listening to the radio and they get to that blurb, this game cannot be disseminated or blah 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 blah. And McDonough just cut off Will Fleming and he said, "Don't even bother reading it. No one wants to retransmit this game tonight." So that's how bad, and that was in about the 4th inning.
And of course, it lasted 4 hours,
Of course
too.
it did, right? Like
And it was 92 at game time.
Yeah, and of course you're all crunched in like this next to people.
And the thing is, drinking makes you hotter.
Of course it does.
So, of course, everyone was drinking and hot from 92 and hot from screaming.
Oh.
It was
It must
just,
have just been sort of a malevolent fog over the
it
stands.
was not
at that
fun.
point.
I wanted to go change my shirt in the 3rd
Oh,
inning.
I'm sure. We were hot watching it indoors. I can't imagine how hot you were watching it in the park.
So anyway, that's going to go down as one of the lowlights of all-time Red Sox play.
Yeah, and see, this is proof we don't come in scripted all the time. We keep it current.
As we were walking out of the park, I said, well, that changes the show.
Yeah, right. Right. So whether you realized it or not, if you watched the game, you witnessed history.
History.
And
That's
it was
right.
Red Sox history and close to Major League Baseball.
And it was the most runs the Blue Jays had ever scored, too.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
I looked it up. There's been 2 other teams that scored 29 runs, and 1 other team that had 28. So
Right.
those are the top 5
Right.
most runs scored
Out
ever.
of how many thousand games in history?
Back to 1901.
Right, yeah.
120 years.
Yeah, amazing.
Before we get started on the next section, I just wanted to show you something that I brought in today. This is the 2022 Topps baseball set. I've been collecting Topps baseball since it began in 1951, and this is the 72nd set.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that may be the last. There's no place where you can buy baseball cards anymore.
No. Yeah, we talked about that before. When it was at its peak, like in the 80s and early 90s, there were entire stores devoted just to baseball
That's right.
cards. Remember that?
Yeah.
You'd walk in and they'd have all the cards on display, and there were about 7 different sets that were out all at the same time.
And of course, when I was a kid through high school, through college, every variety store carried baseball
Oh, right
cards.
at the counter.
Right
You'd
at
go
the
up and
counter.
pay for stuff, and it would be right at the
Right
counter.
at the counter,
You'd
all
buy
the
a couple
time.
packs on the way out. Sure.
And it went in the 80s when all of a sudden baseball cards, old cards skyrocketed in price.
Right.
They put out all these other sets, and so what happened was people bought them by the cartons to save for their children's education.
Oh, right.
They
Yeah,
saturated the market,
Right.
and the value went down to nothing.
Oh, remember the big one was the big one when I was younger was the McGuire rookie card. Remember
that's
that?
right.
The Mark McGuire. It was the '87 set. I believe.
It was 84, and
yeah.
I'll tell you a secret about that.
Yeah.
I was still collecting cards by buying boxes and putting them together. The McGuire rookie card was from the Olympic team.
Right. Oh, that's
He was
right.
wearing the Olympic
that's
uniform
right. It was the Olympic
on.
team. That's right.
My
that's
next door
right.
neighbor was an
Right.
early eBayer, and I had 6 or 7 duplicates of that. And I said, I tell you what, I'll give them to you, and you can sell them on eBay, and I'll split the difference with you. He said, no, I'll do it. I'll do it for nothing. He sold 6 of them for $450 a piece.
I can believe it.
He comes walking in with this wad of cash for me. I said, what?
Well-
And you know what they're worth now?
Nothing. Because the market is just
And
completely
McGuire was disgraced.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
They're worth
Right.
nothing.
Yep.
And so I've always gone out to eBay since and bought complete sets from dealers in New York or someplace because you can't get them around here. This year, my dealer, who always calls me up and says, Pete, you want this set or not? And I say, sure. He called me up this year and he said, I don't have any.
Wow.
I can't get them.
That's
I went on
unbelievable.
eBay
Let's
for.
take a look at 'em,
I
yeah.
went on eBay for quite a while and finally found one guy that was offering the
The whole
complete
set.
series.
Yep, here we are. This is the.
Just show 'em what it looks
These are
like.
the Tigers right here.
That's what
Just
they
so
look
happen to
like.
open up to a page of the Tigers. That's what they look like this year. You know, simple white trim. And if you remember, say 30 years ago, early 90s, there were about 7 sets out. It was Topps and Fleer and Donruss and Sports Flick and Upper Deck, and all these other and they would even have like 2 or 3 series that came out during the course of the year.
right.
They'd have like a rookie set and an all-star set. And remember the the Drake's Cakes boxes?
I used to buy those.
Remember when the Drake's Cakes came out? You know, I was about 10 years old. Buy them all, because I wanted the cards, but I wanted the food too.
I would come home with 12 boxes of Drake's cakes, and the kids would eat them all up. And you had to cut the cards off the bottom of the box.
Yep. Or they had, what were those? They had the button sets too. Remember
Sure,
those? They had
yeah.
these little tiny buttons about this big, and it was about the 100
Well,
best players.
I don't know what's happened, but I think this may be the demise of Topps cards.
It could be.
There's other
Sad.
kinds of cards they put out, but this Topps series out of New York has been a staple of card collecting for 3/4 of a century.
Well, I think it's partly because now, in the past, you would watch the game on your local network, but that was all you had.
That's right.
You know, back in the day, but for you youngins out there, we didn't have MLB Network, we didn't have cable packages, so there were players on teams you never saw. So you would buy the baseball cards that, oh, look at this guy. Oh, this is what Mike Schmidt looks like, because I never get to see him play during the year. And it would familiarize you with guys on teams that you didn't necessarily follow and things like. Now you can say, oh, I never heard of this guy. Let me look him up on my phone, and you instantly have his picture and his stats and everything like that. It was not like that then.
That's right.
So.
I said before, when I was going through school, every boy I knew collected
Oh,
cards.
everyone. Oh, yeah.
And
oh,
we
absolutely.
trade them, got them, need them, got them, need them.
Absolutely.
We played a game, we scaled them against the wall, and got the closest, got the cards.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't remember seeing a kid with baseball cards in years and years.
It's been a long time. Oh,
And the few that buy them are old guys like me that are in the habit of doing that.
Right, yeah. We all used to collect the cards, and you'd have the Topps and the Fleer and the Donruss and whatever, and you would trade them and say, oh, I have this guy for this set, but not this set, and the checklists are always a big deal because they had the checklist and they had all the players. I think one year on the Fleer set, the last one I got was a checklist. I think those are highly sought after.
So The old cards are still very valuable. Right. If you wanted to collect, say, the 52 Topps set, it costs you $100,000.
Oh, easily.
Because Mickey Mantle's in it. But after, say, 1970, any card in the last 50 years,
nothing.
Except possibly for a couple rookie cards.
Right, yeah, like a Bonds rookie or something like that.
I haven't looked, but probably the Judge rookie might be worth something now.
Right, right. Or maybe like the Poppy rookie since he just went in or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. But it used to be a big deal, and now you look at remember they had the price guides and everything, and it would run down every individual player.
I have a bookshelf of them.
Right, and now they're probably worth like a couple pennies a piece.
And those magazines called Sports Collectors Digest.
Oh, for sure.
That came out and had all the dealers that had things either for bid or for sale in them. I'd pore over it to find, try to find cards, but not anymore.
And it's not just cards. I think the memorabilia business in general is just sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit. For the older stuff, there's a market, but you're right. Since probably the 70s and 80s, anything recent is
well, you don't need it because you can look everything up.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
My wife and I just wrote a book about autobiographical experiences, and one of them dealt with my college roommate and I going to New York to see a game show called Say When, and the prize was a Say When game board. I looked it up because he's not doing well, so I looked it up on eBay. And I got one.
Yeah.
The game was made 50 years ago, but somebody's got something out in eBay, so I got one.
Right.
And at the time, the two of us had leaped toward the microphone trying to win one.
Right.
And I just, $22 plus shipping, there it is.
Well, well, you're right, because electronics is taking away. There used to be all these card and memorabilia shows all over the place, and it was almost like a social network. You'd run into the same people selling stuff all over the place, and you got to be friendly with them, and that's how you collected stuff. It wasn't eBay, it wasn't electronics and all.
And what we really liked is a lot of the shows, like at the Bishop Girton, would have an old-time player there.
Oh, sure, yeah, right.
And signing autographs for free.
Right. Yep.
So everybody line up and talk to him.
Right, right.
Oh, I saw Walt Drope up there once, who was my first idol. And I was probably 50, 55. And I said, when I was a kid, I really admired you. And he said, don't tell me that.
Well, I think I said this before. We know we're getting older. Well, I know I'm getting older when I'm watching baseball. And the sons of the guys I grew up watching are in the major leagues now. So
a lot of them.
A lot of them. Watch the Blue Jays. They have about 4 or 5 of them. So.
Well, anyway, I think, I hope I'm proved wrong. But I get a feeling that this may be the last of the top set.
And I wonder if other sports are like that too with their cards, because baseball was always the big card one. But
I don't even know if they make football cards.
I was just going to say I don't think they make football cards.
Basketball
I don't think they
cards?
make hockey cards anymore. Maybe in Canada they might, but I don't think the U.S. has any.
Well, there's no Canadian players in
Well, that's true. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Every show we have a trivia contest.
Oh, it's trivia time, yes.
And we started out, as I've said before, just asking the general audience a trivia question. We seldom got answers.
Yeah.
And so since we have the Ken Jennings of trivia sitting here, and since this is the All-Star game break, I thought I'd ask an all-star question.
Okay.
I don't want to be Dave O'Brien and do just stats, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to this time.
All right.
So the question for you is, in all the All-Star games played, what player has the most hits?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay.
I'll give you a hint, 23.
23, okay.
It's 23 hits.
23.
Okay?
All right. I will.
Okay,
I'll think about that.
We're going to move into our Fenway Memories section now.
Yes.
Which is a lot of fun for us because we've been to so many games, so many things have happened. Just to reminisce about some of the events. We just did, actually.
Right, yeah, that was memory number 1.
And when we're through with that, we'll give the answer to the trivia question. So why don't you
I'll go first? All right.
Go ahead.
No,
wait a minute.
Oh, there you are. Okay, well, we'll do mine first, and then...
We'll come back to that picture.
So mine is proof that it's not necessarily the game that's a memory. Sometimes there are other things involved outside of the game that is a wonderful memory.
Amen.
So, yes. So this was, it was in the, I think it was 03 or 04, I forget which year, but my current wife and I got a 4-pack of tickets. Remember, we used to get the 4-pack games,
Yep.
and we got them in the grandstand of section 16, which is the first base side,
Good
the
side.
blue seats.
Good
And they
seats.
were good seats. Now, if you've ever been to Fenway and you've gotten up to those grandstand seats, you've noticed that when you're going up the steps, there's like a little half step where it separates the grandstand from the box seats.
Yep.
It's almost like a little step, and then there's a little tiny one. It's almost like they had to readjust the seats over the years to get the steps to line up. Well, we were about
Probably.
4 rows behind that step, and this very portly gentleman came up. And you know, when you go to the ballpark, they fill your beer so full that you spill half of it on the way back to the seat. I think that's how they make some of the profit. You know, just fill it right up to the top. And about the 4th or 5th inning, he comes trotting up the steps and has a full beer in each hand, and he misses the half step or doesn't see it, completely wipes out, covers himself in beer. It was like a trip forward, and the beer went this way all over him. And he threw the beer, and some kind soul gave him a towel to kind of clean himself off, and he was and about half the people were paying attention at that point. But once he spilled and you saw the guy wipe out, everyone's watching him. So he cleans and he heads right back down.
Well,
About 15 minutes later, he comes back up with another set of beers. Comes walking, and by now everyone's noticed, of course, because he tripped the first time, and he does it again. He missed the step again, and this time he went this way, and he spilled it all over the guy in the seat right next to where he tripped. So he got himself with 3 beers, and he got another guy with 1 beer. And every swear in the book as he's slamming stuff down, whatever. And of course the whole section now is watching him. It's like, hey! The whole section cheers for him.
was
because he
the
wiped
game televised? That sounds something like Jerry would be
It
into.
does, I tell you, yeah, I don't, maybe it made it on TV. I have no idea. So he went back down again to buy himself, not only buy himself a beer, to buy one for the guy that he spilled the other beer all over. So now his 2-beer trek has dwindled to 1 because he spilled 4, and now he's only going to get 1. He has to get one for the other guy. Well, back then, remember the hot dog guys? They had the big metal trays when they would take the hot dog out and the buns and everything.
Yep.
Not lying, 2 minutes after the guy went back, the hot dog guy comes up and he trips on the same step. I don't know if it was just a blind spot that day or something, and he spills, and the whole tray tips over. So buns fly out, and the water started spilling all over the place. And oh, jeez, and he starts cleaning up, and everybody hands him the buns back or whatever. And so he sheepishly kind of heads back down with his thing. Oh, I guess I'm going to get another one. No sooner does he take the corner than the original beer guy comes back up with a beer in each hand. And by now, everyone is watching. The 3 sections worth of stands are watching this guy come up. He gets up to the step and very triumphantly holds a beer in each hand and does a step and makes it into the blue section of seat. Holds up the beers like this, and the entire 3 sections of stand, hey! He gets a standing O because he made it back to the row with his beers intact. And he stands there in front of everyone, kind of does this, and then he chugs his, just one shot, hands it to the other guy, and he just kind of puts his fists up in victory, and then heads back to his seat.
When you buy a beer and you got to go up the stands, have a few sips before you start.
Wouldn't you think?
I had to drink about a third of it,
Right.
so you got some maneuver room.
Right. So this, and they were getting blown out. I think it was like 9-1 already.
Well.
It was a Yankee game. They were getting destroyed, and this guy was the entertainment for about an inning and a half of the game with his beer runs that failed all over.
Well, my story, and now you can bring that picture up. My story is 1986. A friend of mine, Greg DeBono, and I got season tickets in the bleachers.
I remember this. Yes.
And that's the way they come.
Right.
All these tickets at once. Get to see them all. And we took Jason to a lot of the games. And this was one day that I will never forget. We sat in I think it was the 3rd row in section 36.
Yes, it was.
And in the front row that day, there were 2 girls, maybe 21 years old.
Maybe.
Maybe. That were drinking beer, and they had Baltimore Orioles shirts on, this color.
Right.
Orange Baltimore shirts.
And the Orioles were terrible
And
that
they were
year.
jumping up with every batter and screaming, "Come on, whoever-
Orioles, come on, Ripken, come on, whoever was at bat.
Screaming at
him.
And so after a while, people started taking their programs, balling them up, spilling beer on it, and throwing them at the girls.
Or paper airplanes.
paper
too.
airplanes.
They pulled them into an airplane and dipped the
And
airplane
they
in
were
beer.
getting bombarded with this stuff.
And amazingly, we were right behind them, and we never got hit.
They kept, kept
the
throwing it at
aim
the
was
girls.
amazing.
And what I'll never forget is the third baseman for the Orioles, his last name was Worthington.
Worthington.
They didn't know his first name. So they kept going, "Worthington, baby, come on, Worthington, baby." And I said, "Worthington, baby?" The girl turns around and looks at me like this. She says, "What are you, 50?" I said, "Yes."
And by the fourth inning, they were about half in the bag.
And half in the bag, and they started crying. And the usher, this was the best part though, the usher came over and made them leave because they were causing a disturbance. They had to go sit in some of the
And they were
section.
crying the entire time, too. The usher.
We didn't do anything, we didn't do anything.
So they were the half drunk in the orange jerseys getting kicked out. I think they moved them like 4 sections.
Way over to
They're way over the other side of the bleachers, so they wouldn't cause a disturbance in front of the other fans.
Worthington, baby, is burned into my brain. I'll never forget that.
God. Oh, that was a great one.
But that was great times. We used to have so much fun in the bleachers. Jason used to take little packets of mustard and set them on the floor.
Yeah.
When people walk by, they'd step on them and squirt all over their shoes.
Oh yeah, Remember the little packs of the golden spicy brown?
Yeah.
That's what they had.
As
Then.
they step
and if
on
you
them.
stepped on it just right, it would squirt out one side and get all over their pants or shoes or whatever. You'd sort of booby trap to walk by on the bleachers, or people would set up cups too.
Yeah.
So people would try to walk around the cup pyramid. Then finally you'd get.
Oh
Every
no, we did that. We set them up in a pyramid,
right?
And when people came, watch out! Don't do this.
Oh, jeez. And then about every 20th guy would just say, screw you, and just walk and destroy the thing and just keep going.
It was a lot of fun, boy. There was a game somewhere, but we were.
We were not.
Sitting in the bleachers is a trip.
Oh, well, especially then there was a lot more than beer going on in the bleachers at that time.
It's really funny.
And you had Archie, the usher, who just did nothing. He sat and smoked his cigar the entire time. Hey, Archie, how you doing? I think he'd been there since the park had opened. I think he lived under the stands.
Those were great times. So anyway, those are our memories for this show. And we get them down to the trivia answer.
Okay.
So see if you can figure out who might have had 23 hits.
Okay, 23 hits in All-Star Game history. So I'm thinking it's going to come from the era where they had 2 games.
Yeah.
Just a logical guess here.
Yeah.
And I have a couple that I think it might be. I am going to say Yaz. Is it Yaz?
No.
Oh. Is it Ted Williams?
Nope.
Joe DiMaggio? No.
It has to be somebody that played in over 20 All-Star games.
Oh, Willie Mays. Willie Mays. Yes.
That's right.
Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Yes. There he is.
There he is.
I was thinking American League.
No. Willie Mays had 23. What Ted Williams did have was the most RBIs.
That's what I was thinking.
He has 12 RBIs.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Willie made 23 hits.
23 hits.
That's
23 for 75.
Wow, that's
And now,
unbelievable.
and in those days, they let him play a little
Oh,
bit.
they played the whole game. They played the whole, which will lead into our All-Star discussion.
That's right. I mean, now if you get one at bat, one person got 2 hits in this game. The Cleveland third baseman.
Yes, there were. Yeah,
He's the only one that had 2 hits.
right. Well, most guys didn't even have 2 at bats.
No.
So you stumped me on one.
Yep.
Willie Mays. Yeah. Once you said 20 All-Star games, it was like.
Well, it had to be.
Yeah.
Hank, I thought it might be Hank Aaron, so I looked it up.
Yeah.
And Mays had 23.
But I think Aaron had the most All-Star selections.
I think
didn't
so,
he? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had 2.
Right.
There had to be people that played 59, 60, 60, and 61.
Right, 'cause they
And
had
Yaz didn't even play then.
That's right. That's right. That was before Yaz's
Yeah,
time.
and after Williams.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this was what we planned to talk about,
Yes.
the All-Star Game, but we've changed the title
Yeah.
to the All-Snore Game.
So, yes, for those of you who watched the All-Star Game this year, more power to you if you kept it on for all 9 innings this year. It was not the tense, riveting affair that it should have been.
So before we get into destroying the All-Star game.
Yeah.
What we thought we might like to do for this show is show 4 clips.
Yes.
4 short video clips of 4 great moments in All-Star games.
Right.
Because there weren't any in this game.
No, there were
And there
none
weren't
of
any
them.
last year. And there
No.
weren't any the year before.
No.
But some of the older games, there were things that happened that are so memorable, you just can't forget them.
Right.
So this first one that's going to come up is Ted Williams. You just mentioned him.
Yes.
In a fabulous game.
Paso pitches, Williams swings, there's a high drive, going deep, deep, it is a home run against the tip top of the right field stand. A tremendous home run that brought in 3 runs and turned what looked to be a National League win into an American League 7-5 win.
Ted Williams hit a 2-out, 3-run homer in the last of the 9th against Claude Passaw in Detroit to win the game for the American League.
That's the old Tiger Stadium.
Old Tiger Stadium, walk-off.
Right.
And what's interesting about that is Passaw had struck him out in the 8th inning.
Oh, did he really?
Yes, he
oh,
did.
Wow, cool.
He came up in the 9th inning, he had a 3-run homer. I think there was 2 strikes on him.
Yeah.
Just this incredible clutch last-minute home run. And it's interesting, at the time, he was hitting .405.
Right.
So he was the most feared hitter in the league. He ended up hitting .406.
406. He actually went up a
So he went
point.
up a point from the All-Star game.
You know what's really interesting now is, looking at that, you see the fans kind of do this sitting in the seats because they won.
Right.
And he comes up and their teammates give him a handshake and they all just kind of go. Now there'd be a Gatorade shower. There'd be guys all leaping onto him as he came in the dugout. The fans would be going nuts.
And 6 TV guys running around with cameras.
With the camera with him. But as soon as he hit it, he knew you saw him clapping going up the first baseline.
Yep.
But yeah, talk about a difference in the attitude of the players and the fans then. I mean, it was...
And it's interesting, the old Detroit Stadium had a second deck that it landed in
Right.
that actually stuck out over the
Overhung,
first deck.
right.
If he had hit it a little less, it would have landed, probably he could have caught it.
Right,
But
yeah.
it caught that overhang
Right.
and just
yeah,
went in.
it was about 10 feet out.
Yep.
Like if you could be the right fielder and
Yep.
you'd see the home run disappear above you. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
So that's the first one. It's the only walk-off home run that won the game.
In all-
They would have lost otherwise.
Right,
There have
yeah.
been 2 or 3 other walk-off home runs, but the game was tied.
It was a tie score, right? Yeah, but that's the only
It's
come from
one
behind.
come from
Right,
behind
yes.
walk-off homer. Now this next one,
This
this
is great.
next one is within a lot of people's memories. Pedro Martinez,
This was 1999
1999,
at Fenway Park.
doing something remarkable.
Yep.
And you look at the 15-game winner with that league-leading ERA of 2.10, 3 complete games. Barry Larkin, that's still one of the game's best. Got him with a changeup and a good start for Pedro Martinez in the American League. Just selecting the reserves, the pitchers for this. Goodbye, Larry Walker. See you later.
Wow. Well, stay tuned. Pedro doesn't look like he's losing anything.
4 in a row. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Bagwell. Runner goes, swing and a miss, struck him out, thrown down. Williams is gone, strike him out, throw him out, double play. And Martinez has faced the minimum through 2.
Pedro got the start in the 1999 season, and the All-Star game, he struck out the first 5 batters he faced. And listen to who they were, okay? Barry Larkin, Hall of Famer. Walker,
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Sammy Sosa should be in the Hall of Famer, but he was involved with the drugs. Mark McGuire, who should be in the
Same
Hall of
thing.
Fame, and Jeff Bagwell, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that last pitch to Bagwell was just unhittable. Did you see that curveball that he threw? It dropped about 3 feet.
First 5 guys up who really all should have been
Oh yeah,
Hall of
these
Famers.
weren't scrubs he was striking out. These
And
were
he just blew him by.
just
Nobody
destroyed.
touched him. And then someone got on an error, and then there was
caught stealing. Right.
That was the way they ended it.
And back then, Pedro pitching was an event.
Oh.
I mean, he did this every time out. He was setting some new record, and he was making batters just look absolutely sick.
Yeah, we don't have time right now, but look up his records for the year 1999 and 2000.
Oh, it's
they say that his record of 1999 may have been the best ever in history.
Right. Yeah. Compared to what everyone else in the league was
That's
doing,
right.
the height of what they call the steroid era.
That's right.
Because everyone was hitting then.
Just unbelievable, and that game was like at his pinnacle.
Yeah. Right at Fenway too.
At
right
Fenway.
At Fenway.
And it's the last All-Star game at Fenway.
Right.
That's been one since.
Right. And it was the first time in how many years it had been? It had been a long time.
I can tell you exactly.
Yeah.
The home run that Williams in 1946, Ted Williams hit 2 home runs and 2 singles at Fenway Park.
Right.
In 61, it was the second of 2 games.
Right, that's
and
right.
it was a tie.
It was a tie game, yes,
After
that's
9
right.
innings, it started
That's
to
right,
rain.
yes.
I remember sitting there and said, what a bore.
That's right.
There was one other tie, but that was for a different reason.
Yeah, right.
So from 61 to 99, there was no game. And there hasn't been one now in 23 years, and there probably will still be. There's so many new parks and new places.
It won't rotate back to Fenway.
And
for
Fenway
a while.
holds only 35,000
Well, that
people.
was the argument. Why? Remember they were saying it'll never come back to Fenway for a while because it can only fit 32,000.
But now, since 99, it's a new park.
Right, so you can fit more in there.
Yeah.
So
well, not just that, but it's such a spectacular thing now.
Right.
99, it was still under Harrington's management.
Oh yeah, it was still a you-know-what hole. It was not a good place to go in '99.
Okay, this third one is, I only thought it was a good idea to put it in to show the difference in the way they played ball in the 70s versus now.
Right.
This is Pete Rose.
Pete Rose played baseball at 1 speed, and that gear was on full display in 1970. The game was tied in the bottom of the 12th when Charlie Hustle rounded third looking to score on a Jim Hickman single. And suddenly, Ray Fosse was all that stood between Rose and a National League win. The collision left Fosse with a separated shoulder, and Rose unapologetic about his effort to win.
I did start to slide, but he left me no recourse because there was no place to slide. And there's no sense in ever sliding into a bag if you can't get the bag.
Was Pete Rose's collision with Ray Fosse the greatest moment in All-Star Game history? Cast your vote to decide at MLB.com/moments. And watch the MLB All-Star Game, Tuesday, July 12th on Fox.
Well,
few commercials.
Speaking of guys who should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's just an example. I mean, Pete Rose crashed into Ray Fosse so badly he broke his collarbone and never was the same player again.
He was never, right.
And so they were playing for real.
Oh, the National League then in the 70s, they prided themselves on beating the. Didn't they win like 18 out of 19 years or something like that? And they would go all out to win the game.
That's
They
right.
would play all the best guys the entire game. It was a point of pride
And
for the
actually,
National
what
League
happened in that crash has now been outlawed.
Right, you can't bowl over the catcher.
You can't bowl over
anymore.
the catcher if he doesn't
Right.
have the ball yet.
Right. And you saw Fosse was standing in the base path,
right.
which is not wise to do anymore.
Rose
now.
just lowered his shoulder.
Yeah, did a Gronk shoulder block right
and
into
that was the
him.
winning run.
Right.
I should say that won the game.
Right.
But Fosse never played decently after that.
Right. I remember I forget the year that it was, but Mike Schmidt was talking one time about they were so intent on just beating the AL All-Stars every time. As one year during batting practice, they used Japanese balls instead of Major League balls, and so they were smaller and they were sewn tighter. So of course they went 500 feet every time you hit one. So they took batting practice with these Japanese balls.
I didn't know that.
And the guys and the National League guys were just hitting them out of the park all over the place. The American League guys were like, "Oh God, what are we?" And the National League won, of course. It was just a psych out at the beginning of the game.
It's been weird streaky. This year, the American League won for the 9th straight time.
Right. Yeah.
And now I think they're pretty much even.
They are.
But there were several times long streaks.
Oh yeah. The year when Freddie Lynn hit the Grand Slam, the AL won, and that was like amazing that they won. That was the only time I think it was 19 years that was the only time they won. But it used to be, they would go all out to win. It was just a pride thing. You wanted to prove that your league was better. And this is before the age of free agency, so they had, they were guys on the same team over and over again.
Right.
Year in and year out, you were in the same league, and you didn't fraternize with the other league because you didn't play each other. So you would just go. It was just you take out the other league and you'd win. That was the point.
I can remember Johnny Pesky talking about you were frowned upon,
right?
If you talked
to
the other team.
Of course.
Now
they're
all chums.
Yeah, with
you see them on first base with their arms around each other.
Right.
You know,
it's just, you have Kevin Millar on
I'm
first.
I'm a millionaire. You're one too.
You're one too. All right. Yeah. How you doing, Kevin?
How's your yacht doing?
Right. So the last one that we have is
this is my favorite funny moment ever in an All-Star game.
One of my all-time favorite players is involved in this one. Watch this.
Okay,
one.
this is Randy Johnson.
John Kruk fanning himself off. Johnson has had pitches clocked at as much as 102 miles per hour in Major League play.
Now this ball obviously just getting away from him, but watch the reaction of John Kruk. Would you say his heart is palpitating a bit?
When the second half resumes on Thursday.
Look at the next step. I don't blame John one bit on his right leg.
He bailed out again at the breaking ball.
He wants no part of Randy Johnson. None. No.
This kind of response?
I don't think so. You knew that was gone. John had no chance.
And Johnson works a 1-2-3 inning.
This is almost like Bull Durham.
Right, hit the bull. Right?
Randy Johnson's pitching to John Kruk, who was a good ball player.
He was.
He was a 300 hitter. He's a left-hand, and the first pitch went about 20 feet over his head.
Kruk's going, oh my God.
Right, I think it hit the mascot.
Yeah. Well, people I think that was Johnson's first All-Star game.
I think so.
His first few years, he was terrifying. 6'10", and he had the long hair and the scowl. But his first 5 or 6 years in the majors, he didn't have the good control that he had later in his career. So he'd throw the ball 100 and have no idea where it was going. And it was just terrifying facing him in the beginning of his career. And Kruk had never faced him before. This is before the leagues played each other.
And he also threw 100 miles an hour.
He threw it's right over his head. Kruk's, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
To see the swings he took, he just like,
I'm out of here.
And then he did a bow and then took his head off. And Johnson, who always had a scowl, walked off laughing.
Yeah. And I remember after the game, Kruk's like, oh, thank God I don't have to face him because he's in the other league.
Every time I see that,
it's
just
great.
cracks me up.
And the catcher just sort of gives him his condolences. Yeah, lots of luck to you, pal. There you go. and it was. I don't think it would have been quite as funny with anyone else other than Kruk.
That's right.
Kruk was just such a great personality. He was a dirt dog.
That's right.
Along with those other Phillies guys, those early '90s Phillies. They were, were covered in dirt all the time, and then tobacco.
They were sort of like the Red Sox idiots.
Yeah, they were.
They were. Bunch of good-natured guys.
Bunch of blue-collar guys.
Yeah.
And Kruk was the leader of those guys, and he was just such a great personality. He was on MLB Network for a while, too.
And he didn't really look like an athlete.
No, he looked like
the other players wouldn't shower with him.
Right. Looked like he was in the contractors union. The guy who put the copper piping together afterwards.
He was a good hitter, but he seldom hit triples.
Yes.
But that one at bat, where the first pitch goes into the stands.
Right.
He said, "Whoa!"
Get me out of here.
He takes his hat off and he fans himself. So anyway, those are 4 great All-Star moments.
Yeah.
And this last one we watched didn't have that.
No, it was the scoring was in the first 3 innings, and we've talked about this before, the starting pitcher is less and less frequent in Major League Baseball right now. Now it's get the starter out and bring in a parade of relievers who can throw 100 miles an hour.
Well,
and that's what the All-Star game was last week.
This was the stats. The American League had 21 batters and 11 pitchers. They had 32 players on their roster. National League had 21 batters and 9 pitchers and 30 players that played in the game.
Right.
62 players played in the game.
Right.
Of those, the camera was on about 6 of them.
Right. It was Judge and
Judge all
the time.
Anytime there was a pause in that game, it was on Judge.
Of course it was, yeah.
And there were at least 20 or 30 people, all would come up and say, this is the new defense.
Right.
And then there's 3 or 4 guys, and you never saw them.
And no, well, remember back in the day, we used to try to score the All-Star game. You couldn't have done it because they just would say, okay, here's this guy here, and is he in left? Is he in center? Is he in right? Or they wouldn't say where the batting order changed or anything like that. It was just trying to keep track of your players.
And they're so into interviews things that a couple of times they were interviewing somebody who had the game sort of going on the sidelines.
Right, yeah. Who was the center fielder who actually had a play when they were talking to him?
Yeah. It's a media circus.
Of course it
this
is.
is all about the media.
Of course it is.
And the new gimmick is to mic up players while they're playing.
Right.
The guys at bat trying to answer questions and hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Right.
Come on.
Or you're in the field and you're trying to position yourself against the guy who has an exit velocity of 110 miles an hour. Okay, yeah, let me
And he's asking questions about your contract.
Right.
Oh, terrible.
It's just that, it's become, and don't get me wrong, we are all for it doesn't have to be 100% about the game. We've talked, because the announcers can make it fun, but let's at least acknowledge that there's a game in place happening.
That's right.
And I can't imagine, if you were like a Marlins fan or like a Pirates fan, when did your guys play in the game? It was like you had one representative, and I think they got 4 seconds of camera time.
Benintendi got 2 at-bats.
He did, right? Right, of all people, Benintendi.
Benintendi got 2 at-bats.
Yeah. Or Devers. Now,
Devers walked and was taken out in the last of the 3rd inning.
Right, and these are the people, see, this is my issue. It's an exhibition game. These are the players the fans want to see. They're the players who the fans voted for. So what is the point of giving them 2 innings and 1 at-bat and taking them out? At least give the guys a couple at-bats so the fans can see the players that they voted for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of ridiculous to
Well,
me.
we have several suggestions. One thing, obvious one is, put the starting players in the 6th inning and let them finish the game.
Oh, there you go.
When it counts.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That's a great idea.
And let all the other guys play until after the 5 innings.
Right.
Then you put the guys in
Right. No,
when the game's on the line.
Sure.
The losing pitcher in this game was 11-0 with an 0.84 ERA.
Yeah, and he gave up 3 runs in 1 inning. The inning he pitched. Yeah. Right.
He was 11-0 on his record, and he lost the All-Star game.
Well, I think tying into the whole Devers thing, why don't every starter gets 2 at-bats? I mean, why not? Why I don't understand why it's not a minimum of, okay, the guys you voted for get 2 at-bats minimum, and then they're out of the game, and then you can kind of dilly-dally around whatever.
Well, and another thing, it's an impossibility when you change pitchers every single inning for anybody to get any, how they pull the cards out and look at things.
Yeah. Right.
How do you know who you're hitting against?
Right. And it's a catcher who's never caught you before, so what is the catcher? Oh, just throw 100.
One funny moment was the Yankee catcher.
Oh, yeah.
Trevino got a flare bloop hit to right field, and once he reached first and time was out, he ran out to the outfield to get the ball.
Right, he said, I want the ball.
And the outfield took and pretended to throw it into the stands. He's going, no,
funny.
Get it back. I want that ball.
That was pretty funny.
My bloop hit.
Less media, more game. I'm sorry. But you're right. And same thing with the pitchers. When you're bringing in a new pitcher every inning, or even for a couple batters, because the rules don't apply, that 3-batter rule doesn't apply in the All-Star game, how do you keep track of who's out there? I mean, this is supposed to feature the best guys in the business.
Right.
It really is. And so when you're bringing in a pitcher for 1 or 2 batters, how do I know that this pitcher is is this a guy I should keep an eye on? Who is he? I have no idea who this guy is.
Well, here's my suggestion. Yeah. The problem is that nobody cares who wins anymore. Right. Because they had for a while the deal that the winning team would be the home team in the World Series.
Right.
But everybody after a while said, well, that's not really fair.
Right.
I thought it was, because it made it competitive.
It sure did.
There was a reason to win it.
Right.
Now, I know these players all get money for playing. How about this? We're going to have 3 All-Star games. One starts at 1 o'clock in the East, at 4 o'clock in Central, at 7 in the West. And you only have 12 players and 4 pitchers on each team.
Right.
So you have a real game.
Right.
the winning team gets $200,000. The losing team gets $100,000.
Right. Yep.
And they will make easy tons of money more
course
than
they
that.
will.
And they can have All-Star all day long, and you can see the All-Stars play.
Right. Yeah. And
And
especially
now, you know, the teams don't want the guys to get hurt. But if they get $2 extra grand, $100 in their pocket, they might put out a little bit.
Well, and especially I think that's going to have some merit starting next year, where you're not going to be playing the teams in your division a million times anymore.
That's right.
You know, so you can actually see guys that you're not going to see all that often playing in the East. I mean, that's you know, I like that idea. I think East, Central, and West.
And so
I like that.
you have the 5 AL Eastern teams pick maybe 3 guys from each team.
Right. Yeah.
And so you'd be playing guys you knew
Right.
against National League, same thing.
National League East.
So,
Yes.
so the ones that you would be familiar with. And so it'd be more of a ball game.
Yeah, right.
Instead of just, you know, one thing, I love Big Papi, and I think it's great he made the Hall of Fame. But the 5th inning, where they trotted him out.
Oh, God. And they
Trotted
just
him
had
out like a prize calf.
Yeah.
And he walked into the dugout all dolled up with these sweaty guys playing ball, puts his arm around, and they turn around and say, oh, hi.
Hi, yeah. And there's a game going on while
Yes.
he's doing that.
So
the
they-
game was in the corner of the screen.
So they stopped it while he walked around and talked to some people.
Right.
Just
for no reason at all, just to trot out Papi.
It's promotion for the media.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Right. And this is supposed to be a game that casual fans are watching. This is supposed to be a big annual event.
Right.
What about the game, the way that they displayed it, would attract a casual fan to the game? That's what I don't understand. What's going to make like an 11-year-old kid? What's going to make an 11-year-old kid say, "Oh, I'm a fan now. This is what I want to watch."
Right.
It's not appealing to people outside of the sport, which is what you're trying to bring in. I don't get it.
Oh, it's the media's gone nuts.
Right.
And another thing that I can't stand is, this is during the regular season too, right after a guy gets a game-winning hit, and he's all excited and celebrated, here comes the microphone in his face.
Right.
Now,
What were you thinking up there? What do you want to say?
it's my favorite one this year when
Stanton. Yes, Stanton.
Stanton was the MVP.
Yes.
And he won the Ted Williams Memorial
Right,
bat.
right.
Everything is a memorial,
Right.
presented by Halifax Long Johns. You know. And so they said to him, "What were you thinking up there when you hit the home run?" And he says, "I was trying not to strike out again." What is he going to say?
Right, yeah. Well, you know, I was trying to hit into a double play because I felt bad for the opposing pitcher.
I was expecting an 8-seamer to come in and just in a little outside corner, and I calculated my stance.
What else? What is he supposed to say? You should be off celebrating with your teammates rather than getting
You
a
know,
mic in your face.
I mean, that's true the whole season. What can you say? You can't brag about yourself.
And you certainly can't drop any F-bombs or anything like that. You got to keep it.
Or seem to be excited even.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You got to be calm now all
God.
of a sudden.
Yeah. Imagine, you know, the couple of times they've interviewed J.D. Martinez, it's like he's in a coma after the game.
Well, he's in a coma during the game.
Well, during the game too. Well, I was trying to just get a base hit and make contact. And what else?
It's just like Bull Durham teaching the thing,
It
the right things to say.
Right.
So,
I just want to help the ball club win.
Yeah. It's just, why do the media just get out of there and let the ball players play?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Boy.
Well, I thought that related to the All-Star game, this is not really a trivia thing, but I thought this would be fun to bring up, in that All-Star selections are not necessarily about the best players getting chosen. A lot of the time it's about A, who the fans want, or
Right.
B, position scarcity is what I call it.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. A great example was Mo Vaughn in the 90s was the Red Sox best hitter. And he hardly made any All-Star games because it was the likes of Palmeiro and a whole bunch of Atomi and a bunch of other guys playing first, so he never made the All-Star
That's right.
team, even though he should have. So there have been some kind of dubious Red Sox picks for All-Star teams over the years.
Brock Holt.
Brock Holt would be one of them. Yes, Brock Holt making the All-Star team. So try to rattle these around in your brain and see how many of these you actually remember making the All-Star team.
Is the third baseman that made it twice on?
Scott Cooper.
Scott Cooper.
Yes. Scott Cooper, 2 years in a row.
He didn't start.
That was the Hobson years when they were horrible. And again, Mo Vaughn got bumped out, and they didn't pick Clemens for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So Scott Cooper, 2 years in a row, was the only Red Sox.
And he wasn't a
All-Star.
starter on the team.
No, I think he got one at bat each game, and that was it. They got him the heck out of there. So see if you remember. These are Red Sox Sox who made the All-Star team in the past. Looking at current members, you remember that Jackie Bradley Jr. was an All-Star one year. Yes,
That's right.
he was.
That's right. They had all three outfielders.
Yes,
that
they had
year.
all three outfielders that year, yes. And looking back to a sort of one-year wonders with the Red Sox, Adrian Gonzalez made one, Jason Bay made one, and Mark Loretta made an All-Star team for the Red Sox. So one year, his only year with the team, 2006.
Well, J.D. Drew won the MVP.
J.D. Drew won the MVP.
He won the MVP one year because he got a lucky home run on the
game.
game.
Yep. So yeah, go further back. Matt Clement made an All-Star game and actually pitched an inning, believe it or not.
I don't even remember.
Yes,
him.
he did. Oogie Urbina and Shea Hillenbrand are two fine other representatives from the Red Sox.
Urbina's in jail for life.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, he probably was in jail then. Let him out to pitch the game or something. And, so other notorious Red Sox, Carl Everett and Jose Offerman each made an All-Star team with the Red Sox, believe it or not. And here's a real phantom. You would have stumped me on this one. Eric Hanson made the All-Star team in 1995.
Wow.
Remember him? The great pitcher for 1 year, and he ruined his arm, and he never pitched after that. Yep. And going back, Scott Cooper. The infamous Mark Clear made an All-Star game 1 year, if you can believe it. I think it was 80 or 81, I want to say. He made the All-Star team, believe it or not.
There's a little quick memory story there.
Yeah, right.
He was traded to the Brewers, I think.
right.
And we were down there one night, sitting near him, and he came in to pitch in extra innings and said, wild pitch, wild pitch, wild pitch. And he threw a wild pitch. And the crowd went wild.
Mark, I will strike out 3 guys but walk 4 guys and give up the
wild pitch.
Yeah, a little further back, Tom Bergmeyer made an All-Star team, believe it or not. And then really going back into the 70s and 60s, Sonny Siebert made one.
He was a good pitcher.
Yeah, Jerry Moses made an All-Star team. George Bell in 68 made an All-Star team, if you could believe that one. And then the 61 you were talking about, some real going back here. 61, the 2 guys on the team were Mike Fornielas and Don Schwal.
Don Schwal was the Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year, the one-year wonder.
And Fornielas actually was one of the first good Red Sox
Yes, he
relief
was,
pitchers.
yeah. So just some names from the past that you might not expect that represented the Red Sox in the All-Star game. But, Eric Hansen was the one that would have stumped me. I never in a million years would have guessed him.
I'm having trouble remembering what he looked like.
I don't know. I don't think he pitched, but he
well,
made the team.
I don't think much is going to change because the All-Star game has turned into more, let's have the home run contest, which is fostering the 3 outcomes.
Of course it is.
It's fostering it.
Oh, more people watch the home run derby than watch the game, I think. Yes, yeah. Oh, they hype it up the day before. And the guy from the Mariners who won actually hurt his wrist because he took like 80 swings in the home run contest.
That's happened
he missed
before.
The next 3 games.
That's happened before. Guys shoot themselves out.
So
it's just the first All-Star game originally was intended in 1933 to accompany the World's Fair in Chicago.
Right.
It was just an exhibition for the World's Fair.
Right.
And it was never intended to continue beyond that. There were only 36 players that played.
Right.
Babe Ruth hit the first home run.
Yes, he did. Yep.
And that was supposed to be it.
Right.
But it was pretty successful. People liked it. And then the next year, Carl Hubbell had his famous 5 strikeouts.
Right.
And so it's been going ever since, except for one of the
And it was the same 9 guys that played the whole game, and each pitcher would go 3 innings.
3
you
innings.
Run through 3 guys, and that's it. So
it was a real all-star game, not just the top 15%.
Bunch of guys you pony out for a couple at bats.
That's right.
But well, we need to wrap this up because we are running against the clock.
What we think we might do next show in August, if nothing else comes up to distract us, is do a Big Papi show.
Right.
Big Papi is one of the great all-time.
And officially enshrined as a Hall of Famer now. Yes.
I got one thing to say about that.
Yeah.
Who does the pictures on the plaques?
I have no idea.
He has no idea what the players look like.
Oh, God, they're awful.
If you walk down and look at their faces, you won't identify
nothing
anybody.
Like them. Nothing.
Wouldn't you think they could do, if they could do coins that look like Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah,
they ought to be able to do something that looks like.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
I looked at his plaque. I said, "Who's that guy?"
Who's that guy? Yeah, you know. But yeah, we'll talk about that next time. But and also congrats to Jim Cott and Minnie Minoso, who should have been in years ago. Buck O'Neill should have been in years ago.
Buck O'Neill.
Congrats to all those Hall of Famers. But we'll talk about that next time because we're up against the clock. So
and it's
take care, everyone. We will see you.
See you anon.
See you anon.
And we'll hopefully have at least some good news about the Red Sox.
Yes.
Unless they give up 30 runs.
We'll have a whole new show then.
Take care.
Bye.
the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3, take around and be all in. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for the whole team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3, take around and be all